Thank you for everyone for joining us and coming back to our event today. We're so excited. I have just another, I know you can't believe it, but I have an even more exciting speaker than the last one. And I have with me today, Cathi Chamberlain. And Cathi is, she's an amazing person. She's written a book called, Rules for Deplorables. And it's an amazing book. She's all about organizing from the bottom up and restructuring our country along the lines of our founding fathers and our freedoms and our liberties that we hold so dear. And we're all, as she and I both agree, we're sad to see those kind of disappearing in this last year or two. She's doing something about it and starting from the bottom up. And she started with this book, Rules for Deplorables. So we're very, very honored to have you with us today, Cathi. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Clyde, very much. I'm glad to be here. Any chance to continue spreading this message is a great day for me.
This is going to be a great day. So I'm glad we joined up here today. So tell us about your book. Okay, start with that, and tell them how it's structured according to the rules for Saul Alinsky's book, and how it's based on that as basically as a counter to the Rules for Radicals.
Yeah, well, for those who don't know what Rules for Radicals is, it was written by the father of community organizing, a gentleman by the name of Saul Alinsky, who actually acknowledged Lucifer in his book. And Rules for Radicals was designed basically to transform our country to socialism. Right. And a lot of people don't realize that, but he included in his book, and he published the book back in 1971, and it has 13 tactics in it by which the left uses those tactics against conservatives on a daily basis. But conservatives don't even recognize the tactics, so they don't have any clue how to even counter them, basically. So having been a liberal myself from California, where I got indoctrinated really because I was brought up in a very conservative household, but I was a rebel, and I left the Washington, D.C. area very young and moved out to California, and there I got indoctrinated. So I read that book because it is kind of required reading for liberals.
Sure.
So they follow it pretty well, and it basically is a training manual for community organizers. Now, we all know that Obama was considered one of the best community organizers, still is. Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton wrote her thesis on Saul Alinsky, the man, right, who learned lots of his training from gangsters, literally, in Chicago. And so basically, once I started turning my head around, it was Ross Perot that got me thinking straight again. And I became an independent for many, many years. But then I was a building contractor here in Florida for quite a number of years. And I was inspecting roofs out in Kissimmee area after Hurricane Irma hit. And my ladder just went to the left, and I fell, and I ended up breaking my back, breaking both wrists.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I was laid up for a number of months, and the doctor said no more of that. So as I was laying in bed watching news after news, I just kept thinking, my gosh, the left is attacking conservatives just from every direction. Do they not understand these are actual tactics being used against them? So it was right around that time, 2017, that I started really thinking about writing the book. And I ended up within about 7 months, had the whole thing written. I start off every single chapter with one of Alinsky's 13 tactics and use current events. There's over 400 footnotes in my book, not one of which has been challenged in the 2.5 years it's been on the market. It recently hit number 14 on Amazon's top 5 in politics.
Wow, that's
in government. Yes, I was very proud of that achievement. So basically, it took me on a totally different path in life, obviously. Right. And I've just been touring all over Florida, trying to get this message out about how we are becoming a socialist country.
Oh, this is amazing. So so you basically took Saul Alinsky's handbook and as a former liberal, and then wrote a book to show people who actually believe in the fundamental universal God-given principles that we started this country with, to counter these rules for radicals, to take all that away from us. So you're just going step by step in your book. One rule by one. That's excellent.
One tactic per chapter, yes, and I line it up with current events, right? And just really explain it in a very easy to understand way. And just for your listeners to get, this is the easiest one to understand. It happens to be tactic number 5.
Okay.
And it is ridicule is man's most potent weapon. So when the left, for example, starts accusing conservatives of being racist, xenophobic, sexist, and calling conservatives all those names, they don't really believe it. That's a tactic. And they know that once they target somebody with that label, that particular person is going to go cower in a corner, and it's doubly effective because nobody wants to be around them. They've got the plague at that point, and nobody wants to be a target. So my biggest worry, and the reason I wrote my book, is because I could see us sliding down to the same rabbit hole that Venezuela got caught up in. In fact, my second chapter is Viva la Revolucion, and it goes through how they went from being the richest country in Latin America to the absolute poorest. In the first 10 years that Hugo Chavez was kind of illegally elected in almost. So we're basically following that same path, and people just have a rosy picture of what socialism is. That's the problem. A lot of liberals have been fed just a false narrative of what socialism is. And so I try to address that in my book.
So can you give some other examples of other chapters of how, okay, so you did the criticism one. What would be some other examples of other chapters? And how do you counteract? Let's go back. How would you counteract the fact if somebody calls you a racist and homophobe and all these things? How do you fight that back? What do you do?
Well, you want to know how I fight it back? Okay, when I was allowed to say my mind on Facebook, I've been censored all over the place now, but I've had trolls attack me for some of my views. And I would say, thank you so much for reminding me, because they would just call me all sorts of names. I say, you just used Alinsky tactic number 5, ridicule is man's most potent weapon. And I appreciate you giving me yet another opportunity to share my book with the audience. Here's the link. I hope you read it. So that's, everybody's going to have their own little way of being able to attack back.
Yeah.
But
I think you need to work on that, don't you? It's almost like we need to sit together and create a group in our town and read your book and go through chapter by chapter and talk about tactics for fighting against all these different all these different techniques that they use.
Yes,
to
it's
discredit
interesting.
you and fight, and insert insidiously their philosophy to our children and to our relatives and everything else. I mean,
well, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I just had my very first class. People have been clamoring to get me to actually hold a class. And I just had my very first one down in Port Charlotte here in Florida, and it was a tremendous success. It was like a 3-hour class. It really needs to be even longer, but at least it instilled in people a concept of what to look for. And I went through each one of the tactics so they could see how it's being used. But a perfect one for what we're going through right now is the threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. That is a tactic. So what we see being used to basically control our population today, with all of the COVID-19 restrictions that are being placed on us, which many of them don't even make sense, then that's where that comes from. The threat is more terrifying than the thing itself. They know The left knows if they can create the fear in us, the facts don't matter.
Right. Right.
And we've just fallen like sheep into the double, triple, quadruple masking after vaccines. And it's just gotten crazy, but people are still buying it up. It's unreal.
Yeah. Well, they just, if they're listening to the mainstream media, they're listening to propaganda nonstop, and none of them can believe. I hear them say, well, look, I don't just watch CNN, because I'll ask them what they listen to. I also watch PBS.
I hear it all the time.
Well, they're all the same, but they can't believe that. It's very difficult for them to believe that all of those mass media stations are being given marching orders, and they're given scripts every single day of what to say. But
yes.
I tell them, I said, just do this, just try this one thing. Flip around from channel to channel someday and see if you're not hearing the exact same lines.
Yes, right.
Because you can do that every day, and you will hear the same, they have certain talking points that they're supposed to hit every day, and they all do it.
And one tactic is to maintain a constant pressure on your enemy. So it's like to develop a number of operations that are hitting your enemy from all flanks. And people don't realize, just because there's a chapter in my book that actually goes into this, that the repetitiveness of a message, and that at the first time you hear something, okay, maybe 5% of people believe it, but then the second time they hear it, 10% of people believe it. And when we're talking about the numbers that are on Facebook, you're talking about swaying millions of people just by repeating the same lie twice.
Well, that goes all the way back to Edward L. Bernays, who was
Yes.
the nephew of Freud. And, he worked for the Wilson administration to get us into World War I.
Yep.
All the propaganda and the repeating things over and over again, and showing over and over again German soldiers killing babies, and all these made up propaganda things that they did. And it worked. We finally got us into World War I. And then Hitler, when Hitler came to power, he saw what Bernays had done in the U.S. And he hired him.
Yeah.
And he basically was working with Goebbels and to do all Hitler's propaganda. So it's in that repeating the big lie over and over again is just a classic example, and that's what they do. You're right, and it's over and over on all those different stations. So it's hard to fight, but we have to do it. And I think your book is a good way for people to start. I think your classes are a great idea. Have you thought about doing some Zoom meetings that could be recorded and could send them out, or some podcasts or something like that?
Yes, I'd love to have the time. Yeah, I'm working on a lot of different things right now. I'm about ready to announce co-hosting as on a national podcast, radio talk. And there's just so many things that I'm working on. It's really hard to slow down. And what do you focus on? What's going to get the biggest audience that can learn this stuff? Because one thing I really want the audience to understand too is that it's not what I write about in my book is kind of partners Alinsky with Cloward Piven. I'm sure you're familiar with Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, the Cloward Piven strategy models, because many people have heard of them, but I had one gentleman.
I don't know much about them. I've heard the names before.
Oh my gosh, they are, and a couple of people who have read my book told me they've never seen them paired together, but to me, it is the actual, the real solution to what's going on right now, because they were sociology professors, a married couple at Columbia University back in the same time Alinsky was writing his Rules for Radicals. And they wrote a series of strategy papers. One was was written in 1966. It was called The Weight of the Poor, a Strategy for Ending Poverty. But the whole concept behind all of their strategy papers is to overload our systems every which way they can, from welfare to creating chaos in our voting systems to overwhelming our borders. And in that respect, By doing so, they would implode our entire country, necessitating the government to step in and guarantee annual incomes for everybody. This is I like to say that Cloward Piven wrote the blueprint for transforming our country to socialism, and Alinsky wrote the tactics that are the vehicle by which to get us there.
Okay, that's right. That does come back to me now. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we got to be as smart or smarter than they are.
Yes.
And we have to be organized, and we have to be united. Everyone who believes in the fundamental divine universal principles of liberty and freedom. Otherwise,
they have such a head start on us. They've been working at this for decades, and they're so organized. Mm-hmm. So we've got to all get to work if we don't want to end up like Venezuela. It's as simple as that.
Right. So you've got the book Rules for Deplorables book.com, where people can buy that on Amazon. I just ordered mine on Kindle.
That's my website. If people have an aversion to buying on Amazon, which is happening more and more these days, you can go to my website, rulesfordeplorablesbook.com, and order through PayPal and get an autographed copy as well. So that's
a good idea. Right.
But it's also available worldwide, audiobook, Kindle, through Barnes and Noble. I see behind you there. So it is available with them as well. Lots of places to order it. An audiobook, I think I said that, but yeah.
Good. And then the rumble.com, what's the rumble.com, the deplorable author, the / rumble.com / the deplorable author. What will they find there?
Well, I do, whenever I get really upset about a certain topic, I hop online and do a podcast and I'll talk about it. The last one I did was all about the Matt Gaetz situation. That's an Alinsky tactic is being turned on him. All of my podcasts and all of my written blogs, which people can find at the deplorablерeport.com. That's where all my blogs are. I always write through the lens of an Alinsky tactic, so people can continuously not just learn the truth of what's happening in the news today, but understand how it's being foisted upon the American people, what tactics are being used, so they can recognize it and not fall victim to it. We're being like sheep, sent to slaughter here. And so we have to just really start paying attention and getting away from all the mainstream medias, because even if people say they just listen to it, but they also don't even listen to it. It's just brainwashing at this point. There are so many good, great independents that are filling that vacuum up, that do their research and are telling people the truth. And it's up to those who are reading these other sources, these independent sources, to share them all over the place, because most of us have been censored off of everything.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because there might be some that that I know that people don't know, like probably the Epoch Times, which is very good, right?
Yes.
Epoch, yeah. And then there's also Dr. Steve Turley is very good.
Yes, I do like him. There's like the Gateway Pundit is one of my first go-to sources, because that one they were the first ones out with the truth, and I've never found what they've come out with. And I dig deep. I'm not somebody who just blindly follows whatever I hear. I will compare different sources and research, because I can't come out with something that's not true. That would just completely deplete my credibility. And of those 400 footnotes, not one has been challenged to date. So, but of course, Steve Bannon's War Room is another huge one, top on my list. And then you've got like 100% Fed Up. Most of your audience probably has never even heard of them.
I haven't heard of that one.
100% using the 100% sign, 100% fedup.com. Excellent research. Okay. That they do. So I go outside the box. And of course, I love John Solomon, his Just the News. He's right on target always. I have actually a list of probably 25. I could send it to you if you'd like, but I would like you to. Yeah. Yes, I hand those out at my speeches, because I just want people to know, because I get asked that all the time. People really don't know who to trust.
Why don't you put that on your website?
I will. That's a good suggestion. Yes, I'll do that. Maybe I finally have a couple days I can calm down here in the next 3 days.
Send it to me too, and I'll add, if I have any to add, I'll add to it, and then we'll both put it on our websites.
Love it.
I'll put it on commonsenserevisited.com, and you can put it on Rules for Deplorables.
Will do. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, when Fox News threw the race in the elections.
That was so obvious.
In Arizona, that was it for me. I got rid of my cable. And I'll tell you what, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. I pay $0 now for cable, and everything is free on TV. I was absolutely shocked. I can even get Fox News for free through Roku. I bought $25. I bought a little Roku thing that just,
I stopped watching Fox after that night.
Me too.
Yeah.
Now it's OANN or
Newsmax. What do you think about
Newsmax? Yeah, that's a touch and go.
Yeah.
To me, at this point, I go for much more independent, deep divers. They're okay.
There's so many good ones out there.
Yeah. There are. It's amazing. It opened up a whole new world to me when I got rid of my cable. So
yeah. I mean, there's so many you can't even mention them anymore. I mean, Robert David Steele has been around for a long time. He does a pretty good job. But Charlie Ward is pretty good. And
yes,
I really like Sasha Stone a lot too.
I don't know that one. So
check it out. Very good. Very good.
Be able to share some there.
Yeah, but let's both do that and get, and people, because everybody that's listening, you need to be able to tell your friends all these alternative news sources, because if they're still watching mainstream media, they're just programming themselves.
Here's another couple. I'm just looking now on my Reclaim the Net. It's excellent. National File, LifeSite News. These are all the ones that I go to for the truth.
LifeSite, I think I've heard of that one.
LifeSite News.
Okay.
PJ Media. Conservative Brief. There are those are my top ones that I go to first whenever I'm going to do a blog or a podcast. And I got to tell you honestly, Clyde, there are some things in my book that still haven't been made public yet. That's how far ahead of the curve we can be by shutting off Fox News and mainstream media. We learn the truth at least 6 months before the American people, if not a year or two down the road. That's the difference. So that's why it's so easy for the left to call somebody like me a conspiracy theorist, which I have been called many times, even though my writings always bear out truth. But that's why it's easy for them to call us conspiracy theorists, because it's not in the mainstream news. So when I talked about gain of function, for example, the Wuhan virus, I have a blog there that would blow you away that I wrote in May or April of 2020, almost over a year ago. And now it's all coming out. Yeah. But at the time, people even in my own family called me a conspiracy theorist because it does sound so far-fetched, but I'm not a prophet. I just know where to get the truth.
Well, Judy Mikovits has been talking about gain of function for over a year now.
Yes, she has.
If people would just read her books.
Yeah.
I'm interviewing Kent Heckenlively this Saturday, who's her co-author, and they're coming out with the third Plague of Corruption book.
Wow.
She's
an amazing woman.
Everybody listening got to hear Judy Mikovits.
I agree. Absolutely.
So the second book, The Plague of Corruption, is the one I've read, and that's tremendous.
And look, what the left did to her is exactly what they're doing to Matt Gaetz right now. So this has been going on for a really long time. And that, by the way, is tactic number 13. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. And that last part, polarizing it, that's what they want to do. They want to divide and conquer. us between races, between classes, between sexes, everything. They are trying to divide the American people between the haves and the have-nots. And that's what Saul Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals, is all about, basically.
Wow, you really got a lot of work to do, but why don't you talk a little bit about Defend Florida and then Defend Alabama and that, because that's very exciting too, which is another, we were talking about bottom up, working from the bottom up. I think this is real exciting. And tell people about that.
Yes, Defend Florida is the first hope I've had in over a year, I would have to say, but it was formed by a woman who was the founder of Women for Trump in the entire state of Florida. So she's just a really go-getter. Well, she was looking for a new focus, and she was looking for something that would reach out to everybody. This is a nonpartisan group, but she has been very successful at anything that she has started up. And she reached out to me to be an ambassador for Defend Florida. And I thought, well, I don't really have the time, but let me look into it. And I did my research and found out I love the concept. And that is, you know, no matter what party somebody's in, you have like thousands of different groups going in thousands of different directions. And what this does is basically puts an umbrella over all those thousands of groups in the state of Florida or whichever state you're in. Now they're branching out into other states. And it kind of unites all of us under one force, one voice, to save our republic. It's all about the Constitution and saving our republic, because we are so close to losing it. If this HR 1 bill passes, we are done. So with Defend Florida, the whole concept is, and your listeners can text the word defend to 474747 anywhere in the country, and they'll get a drop down menu that asks them a series of questions: what skill sets they have, what committees they might be interested in their local communities. For example, faith-based, masks, vaccinations, their sheriffs, their candidates, and it segments us down to the local level, but also keeps that umbrella over all of us in our state. So the first one was Defend Florida. Now I understand it's spreading to other states like Defend Alabama. You can start your own in your state. It's time to take action. Eventually, we're all going to merge under Defend Our Union. So this is for people who want to save our country and
where do they find this again? Where do they go to find Defend Florida?
Well, they can actually go to the website, which is defendflorida.org.
Okay, that's what we need to know.
Okay, sorry, yes. That's one way.
Defendflorida.org.
That's correct.
And then what is this? How do they get to this Defend 474747?
Okay, so it's just like sending a text, but instead of putting a phone number in there, you put in 474747.
Yeah.
And then before you send it, it'll say, what's your message? You know, just like you would text somebody, your message, and you put in defend, just the word. And then you hit send, okay, and then that will get you into the system. But you can do the same thing if you want to go to the website, which is chock full of great educational stuff, like with they have Constitution classes on their education about all sorts of stuff that's going on. The key is, if legislation comes down in your state, for example, that is going to take away your Second Amendment rights, for example, right? This has the capability, the system, once you're in it, you'll be put on the list that will get action alerts. So we can all, when you get an action alert, I just answered 3 this morning, they make it really super simple. And that way, thousands of us are sending messages to our local candidates, our local senators or representatives, saying, don't vote on this bill, or make sure to vote on this one, so we can speak with one voice. It's very powerful. It's the first hope I've had, really, that we have a way out of this, what seems like a suicidal spiral. It doesn't have to be, but it means every one of us has to take action.
Wow. Cathi, this may be the most important interview I've done. I'm serious, because everything, there's been so much good information in the summit, and every single interview is valuable. But what we're talking about here is action steps that people can take right now, today, as soon as they listen to this. Going to defendflorida.org, learning how to do, and then defend 474747, getting on this list of texts. These are going to be texts that they're going to get right, of action.
No, they're actually coming via email right now, but they'll probably, the co-founder of this is a software genius from India. And he is awesome. Raj Dorasmi. I can never pronounce his last name because it is an Indian name.
Right.
But he's fantastic. If you go to the website, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that, because Sidney Powell has endorsed Defend Florida. General Flynn, who I will be opening as an opening speaker for on the 24th in Bradenton. And also now they just got Patrick Burns on board, and they will be having a Unity Summit, by the way, as well, on May 2nd. Their last Unity Summit a few weeks ago had Sidney Powell as the guest host. This time it's going to be Mike Lindell, Patrick Burns, the editor of my favorite, The Gateway Pundit. I can't wait. And also, here's another fantastic one, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, the guy who's going around the country auditing all these machines, these election machines. And Chris Ann Hall, who's a local constitutional.
Yeah, we know Chris Ann.
I figured you might if you're in Florida. So she's going to be on this summit. So you might want to check that out too. That's May 2nd. But if your listeners sign up for Defend Florida, they'll be able to get the information that'll be emailed to them.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Very good
Stuff. Lots of good stuff going on, Clyde. We just have to unite. We have to become our own little community organizers. I was just yesterday, spent hours at the supervisor of elections office to find out if we have a problem here locally. And then tonight I'm going to our second Defend Florida meetup. So we can all break into our little committees and figure out, where we go from here. It's that brand new. So people don't have to worry about this is not an old organization. It's all grassroots. We're all coming together for one purpose, and that is to save this great republic as far as we have to. We don't have much time left, I believe.
Yeah, well, it's going to be much more difficult to have to fight back if we lose it. Than it is to maintain it now. And so this is it. This is really the time for us, if we want our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren, which I plan on meeting in the next few years, to be able to live the full vision of life that our creator. Let me put it this way. Our creator did not give us free will for us not to be able to use it. He didn't give us this free will for us to submit to being livestock for the elites of the world, which is exactly what they're doing right now with the muzzles on our face.
Yes.
Vaccines, which are really, really awful, and all this stuff. I don't believe our creator created us to be in that position, but I think that the creator gave us the ability to fight back and to keep our rights, and we need to do that. We can't sit by.
And if I can add, he didn't put us in this position. We did, because he gave us the free will to do exactly that or to fight back. And let's pray to God enough people wake up. That's what it's going to take, the Great Awakening.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm so thankful for you doing the job that you're doing to bring these messages to many people. So, because that's what it's all about. We're not going to be able to turn this big ship around until enough people have woken up and swallowed that red pill.
And I really do believe, I interviewed Foster Gamble a couple weeks ago, and he's got 97 million people who have seen his movies, his Thrive movies now throughout the world, and he's got a big audience. And he's so totally on board with everything you and I are both saying.
Wonderful.
And he's just doing everything he can to unite all those people. And there's people all over the world. Everybody in the world knows that what's happening in the United States is going to determine what happens to the whole world. Everybody wants this.
That is so true. I've written recently about the situation in Hong Kong. If Americans want to see what's coming, look no further, because they have lost all their freedoms pretty much at this point. They've been taken over by the CCP, who infiltrated their Congress, which has happened with ours. If you've ever read any Trevor Loudon, I mean, we already our Congress is filled with communists, card-carrying communists.
Both parties. And so, if people really understand what's at stake over in Hong Kong, they just arrested 50 of their lawmakers and activists, and they're sitting in jail right now. That's like where our Matt Gaetz's, Marjorie Taylor Greene's will end up, and the moderate Democrats too, because if people think this is just a red or blue issue, absolutely not. They're coming for all of us eventually. We spent 6 weeks in Hong Kong in 2004. And my daughter was living there. My son-in-law at that time was working for Credit Suisse. And it was incredible. I was just so impressed with the people there, their love of their freedom, love of work and getting ahead and prosperity. And oh my God, I've never seen, and you see these people, they're there at like 5 o'clock in the morning in their little shops, and they're there at 9:30 at night and 10 o'clock. I mean, they just work, the hardest working people I've ever seen. They work so much harder than we do.
And they were considered one of the freest countries in the entire world.
Their income tax was flat 15% income tax. And for a long time, no other taxes either. No property, nothing else. And they were just thriving at that time. And to see what's happened, what China has done to them in the last few years is just horrific.
It's painful to watch, but it's coming here. If Americans really want to know what's heading our way, it's that and Venezuela. Those are the two examples I give out most.
I think you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. All right, one more time. I just want to make sure people know Rules for Deplorables is the book. You can go and get it at rulesfordeplorablesbook.com or on Amazon, right?
Yes.
And then you can look up all of Cathy's work at rumble.com/deplorable author, the deplorable author. And then this very important defendflorida.org organization where you can go and find out all about that and get on this defend 474747 where you get all this information and alerts and everything. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you got it all. The deplorablерeport.com is where I do most of my writing. So that's the only one that I would say, if people are more readers, that's the one they want to check.
Boy, I'm so glad you could join us today. I'm sure everybody that's listening is very, very happy that they.
I'd like to thank Ann up in the Panhandle, because she's a big supporter.
Yeah, Ann was great. Ann, we did a great interview with her. She's a fighter too, and
she is, absolutely.
The medical industrial complex did a number on her, like it's done on so many people in the country. Okay, well,
but verify. That's right. That's what we should be doing with Dr. Anthony Fauci and the CDC and all of them. So
he did tell the truth. He did tell the truth for 2 days when he said we didn't need masks.
Right.
Over a year ago.
Boy, that's a good memory.
Yeah, it's like 2 days.
Those were the good old days.
Those were the good old days when he actually was telling the truth. There was 2 days where he told the truth in the last year and a half. Boy, oh boy. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, everybody. And Cathy, that was awesome. And let's stay in touch. We got a lot of work to do together.
Thanks, Clyde. I will. Let's do. And I'll send you that list too. All right. You take care.
Thank you.